Arthur Wentz. This is Freddie Williams.
This is Ian Statler, Senior Story Editor at DCU.
Hi, this is Mildred Phillips.
And Christina Weir.
Hi, this is Kevin Vander.
Hi, this is Lieber Mayo.
Hi, this is Brian Azarelli.
Hi, this is Matt Wagner, author of Batman and the Monster Man and Batman and the Mad Monk.
Hey, this is Mike Martz, Batman Group Editor.
Hey, this is Ethan Van Sciver.
My name is Neil Adams.
This is Paul Dini.
This is Robert Greenberger.
This is Jerry Robinson.
Hey, this is Will Furtaccio. This is Adam Beechin, and you're listening to the Batman Universe Comics Podcast.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Batman Universe and Rob's Rogues for my continuing look at the first, I believe it's 15-issue run by Derek Friedhoffs for the Batman Arkham Unhinged series, and the writing team has changed. And I want to apologize for the last week or so that I've had some video camera issues and more importantly computer issues that I had to kind of reformat a hard drive and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So I wasn't able to get the next edition of the Arkham Unhinged up, as I'm looking to make sure I got the right issues in my hand here. So I'll be doubling up the next couple, that way I can keep us on track to get to the actual release date of Arkham Origins, and we'll be taking a look at the Arkham City version of the video game through comic book form from DC Comics. And like I said, this is written by Derek Friedhoffs, and today we're going to be looking at two issues here. We're going to be looking at issues 2 and 3 from the Arkham Unhinged, and this first part is going to be for number 2 from Derek Friedhoffs and the team that is writing Batman Arkham Unhinged. And this is one of the few issues that does tie into a previous issue just for dialogue's sake. Like I mentioned in the previous video, that most of all of the issues are single confined issues in and of itself, and a lot of them will end with a to be continued, but it's never to be continued. It kind of gives that flair of it's to be continued because it's in the game and you know the next step. Like I said, very rarely do we get bits and pieces of the comic that goes into a previous issue or foreshadows to another issue. Number 2 here is, you'll hear in the audio commentary that's going to be coming up in just a second. This is basically the whole issue is just a conversation with Commissioner Gordon and Batman talking about the previous issue with Batman trying to with Catwoman trying to get a hold of the blueprints to find her stolen treasure. It's basically just a little chunk of that, of kind of what happens right after that, of Batman trying to track down and basically rescue Catwoman and Two-Face from going into Arkham City. So they have a discussion there. It's basically taking all on the rooftop, and then through their dialogue in the issue, you get the other scenes, and it kind of even goes to Arkham Asylum, talks a little bit about that, kind of what was going on before that, and then other plot points that are in the video game. So I don't want to take too much away describing right now, so we'll get right into the audio commentary part, and trying to find images from these two comics. For whatever reason, there weren't a whole lot, and the funny thing is that some of these issues, the word balloons I think are in Arabic, so you'll see the dialogue balloons on some of them, and it's a foreign language, so I'm assuming it's Arabic or something like that, which I thought was kind of funny. I wasn't going to put in there, but hey, even Arabic people are reading Batman, of course. Everybody's reading Batman. So I tried to get as many images as I possibly could for these two issues, but let's go right into issue number 2 of Batman Arkham Unhinged comic book series. Batman Arkham Unhinged, number 2, Observations, written by Derek Friedhoffs, pencils by Brian Ching, inks by Lives Say. This issue is basically a conversation on the GCPD building between Batman and Commissioner Gordon, with flashbacks of Arkham Asylum and other cutscenes from the video game of Arkham City. We do get a small recap of the previous issue, but this is one of the few times in this series that two issues are connected. For the most part, all issues are self-contained. Gordon and Batman discuss what Batman has been up to in Arkham City, and that Gordon's hands are tied with the new mayor, Quincy Sharp, wanting to capture Batman at all costs, and Gordon does not like it at all. And whatever Batman is doing, he better do it quick. Batman says that a part of this he feels is his fault, since on one hand he brought all the criminals to Arkham, and Hugo Strange was the psychiatrist there when Sharp was warden, and Hugo was primed to take control. We also are told that after the issue 1, Batman is trying to get Catwoman and Harvey Dent out of the armored car that is headed for Arkham City, and is shot out of the Batplane while trying to do so. We also see a flashback to the original trailer to Arkham City when the video game was first announced, where the guards are chasing after Batman through the streets and the rooftops. This is an extended scene in the comic here to give a bit more story and length on what they are trying to do to track him down. In one scene, Batman takes a breather in a TV shop, and Hugo finds his location and is able to broadcast to Batman throughout the TVs in the room. Also in this comic of Batman's recounting with Commissioner Gordon, it also includes a section of the Arkham City video game that deals with Vicky Vale and the helicopter crashing. In the game, the helicopter crashes on its own and you investigate it. In the book, Batman is trying to put distance between him and the Tiger Guards, and he glides to the copter, and the guards shoot down the news copter with Vicky Vale and Batman inside. Batman is able to save Vicky as the copter crashes to the ground. We get an extended dialogue between the two characters, Vicky and Batman, of the events of the crash that happen in the game. While Gordon and Batman are on top of the GCPD building, the Tiger Guards are sneaking up to the rooftop to try and capture Batman and arrest Gordon for fraternizing with Batman. Gordon tells Batman that he's being buried in a mountain of paperwork by the mayor's office that is trying to keep him busy from trying to assist Batman. The guards are getting closer to the stairs, and Batman tells Gordon to go home and see his wife and rest. He will handle it. Just as the guards arrive on the rooftop, Batman is nowhere to be seen. Only Gordon is smoking and commenting, "What, can't a guy light a cigarette once in a while? I know I'm trying to stop." One of the guards hears an unfamiliar voice in his headset telling him that they have arrived too late to the party. It's Batman. Hugo Strange is angered by this, that Batman has hacked the frequency, and immediately ends the transmission in the guards' ears. We see in a building across town Robin, Oracle, and Nightwing talking about hacking into Hugo's transmitters. But if they want to hear more, they're going to have to get an encryption key and hack all the transmitters to hear what is going on and what Hugo is broadcasting to his Tiger Guards in certain sectors, i.e. a part in the game that you play as Batman tracking down, you guessed it, the transmitters. Nightwing says that he doesn't think it's going to be a problem, and the issue ends with Batman standing over a pile of Tiger Guards, and Batman has one more encryption key in hand. So that was issue 2. I liked this. It seems a little dry, even as I was writing the synopsis for that it's generally just a conversation between Batman and Commissioner Gordon on a rooftop. But I like that they threw some other elements in there. We get a little bit of backstory that we kind of knew from Arkham Asylum, but even a little bit before then with, Batman still feels a little guilty that, hey, I'm rounding up these criminals and I'm putting them in Arkham Asylum, and now the person that I was taking them to is using all those characteristics about these villains and warps the mind of the warden, Quincy Sharp, who's now the mayor, that Hugo Strange has now ascended himself right to the top of the ladder in Arkham City where he wanted to be. Another thing that I wanted to add to this video, that this is the first appearance of not only Robin, my favorite character, but also Nightwing and Oracle that we get in the final pages of the issue. So Derek is also doing a really good job of saying we're not only going to be following just, Batman and then some of the villains, but we're also going to be looking at the supporting characters, and we'll get to see what Robin and Nightwing and have some interaction with Oracle and Alfred as well in this series. I did like that they used the first preview or the first trailer for Arkham City where Batman is on the rooftop with all the Tiger Guards, and you hear Hugo Strange doing the voiceover and all that type of stuff, that they kind of extended that a little bit. And then they take, what's really refreshing about this, they take some liberties with the story a little bit and kind of stretch parts out. They use the helicopter sequence with Vicky Vale And in the video game, I think I even mentioned it in the voiceover, that is just used that you get this distress call that a helicopter's gone down, and then as you're playing the game, you take Batman over and you get to talk to Vicky Vale, and I think the Mad Hatter starts working right around that time as well. But they use it in a way from an aspect towards the end of the video game where you're Batman, you're able to hang from the bottom of the helicopter. They kind of throw that in there. The Batman is using that to use distance to get away from the Tiger Guards, and that he is the inevitable cause of the helicopter crash. So the interaction between Bruce and Vicky is kind of explored there. She will make, I think, at least one more appearance in the comic book series, and that is just a little bit longer. I think this actually takes place in and around the church, which is another place that Batman ends up telling Vicky to go to. So what's my negatives with some of these issues, and kind of this one a little bit, it's real apparent on the next issue on 3, but not so much this one. Brian Ching is doing the art in this one, but sometimes you may have 2 pencilers on an issue. So each of the issues is not consistent in who is drawing or doing the pencils on the issue. So if you didn't like one issue, how it was drawn, you can almost be guaranteed that the next one is not going to be drawn by the same person. So it gives it a little bit of extra feel to it. So if you're like, oh, I don't like how this is drawn, I don't think I'm going to like the whole series, the next issue is going to be drawn by somebody completely different. And in some cases, it could be 2 or 3 people drawing the issue. Because keep in mind, each of the issues was done as a 3 digital issue little mini series. So this one single issue, print issue I'm holding in my hand, is actually 3 digitals. So they may have hired 3 separate people to draw each of the 3 digital parts, but reading it together, it's one whole story, because each of the digital issues were like to be continued, to be continued, to be continued. So this one I thought was a little bit, the first issue I thought was done very well. This one was a little bit sterile, not too bad. I did like that they were incorporating more of the video game aspects, and we'll see that throughout this whole series. So for Arkham Unhinged number 2, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 Batarangs. And we'll move on to our next book. Alright, we're here for our second and final issue for today. We're taking a look at, of course, Arkham Unhinged number 3. Again, these will all be written by Derek Friedhoffs, and like I mentioned in the previous video, that the art team is, again, changed on this, and that's going to be very familiar as we go through the series, that the art teams will change from time to time. Some are very stark and very contrast to the other. Others are more depicting a certain style, so it's just depending on how that particular issue or however the story is being done. I think Derek even had some liberties to be able to say, hey, I'm doing this particular type of story, I'd like somebody to do this type of art. So I believe he had a hand in selecting who was going to be able to draw depending on the type of story they were doing. There are 2 pencilers on this, and it's kind of hard to tell where the pencilers come and go, and I think that's good, but at the same time I did not enjoy this as well, but I will get into that in just a second. So we'll just go right straight to the voiceover, and again, I have tried to get as many of the comic book images from this issue as I possibly could, and again, you will probably see some foreign language in the word balloons. So let's get into Arkham Unhinged number 3. Batman Arkham Unhinged number 3, Ruffled Feathers, written by Derek Friedhoffs, penciled by Simon Colby, Bruno Redondo, if I'm saying that right, inks by Simon Colby, Santi Casas, and Clifton Rotherburn. If you want to hear their names pronounced correctly, maybe you can sound them out. Penguin sits alone in the Iceberg Lounge, going over records of the club's expenses, thinking to himself that most people in Arkham City were forced to go inside, but he chose to stay. Why leave when he put so much into opening his club in the first place? His penguin thugs arrive carrying a single case and the other holding his arm in a sling. Penguin is mad that they have only retrieved one single crate. When asked if Batman had anything to do with it, one of his Penguin thugs says, well, not exactly. He tells Penguin that once they got to the warehouse, all the crates were destroyed, save one. There were Joker tags all over the place, and the Penguin supplier had been killed, letting Cobblepot know that it was the Joker that did this. Just then, Batman jumps to the ground and took out most of the Penguin's guards, but two of them were managed to get away with the single crate. Furious, Penguin tells the men to open the crate. Inside are bottles of wine. The labels look a little funny, and before the Penguin can stop his man from opening the bottle and trying to drink it, it sprays liquid toxin all over the gentleman, killing him, and partly ruining Table's antique desk, which quite frankly makes Penguin more upset that his desk is damaged more than losing a hired hand. He has his men clean up, and the Penguin tells them that this is why they have a no-clown policy in the nightclub, and tells them a story of his first night in the Iceberg Lounge. The opening of the club was the biggest in Gotham at the time. New and old money were invited to the club. It had attractions, a pool, exotic Arctic animals, and live music, the best that money can buy. And for once, the Cobblepot name was proud once again, and rubbing elbows with all that money wasn't bad either. Joker and Penguin weren't always enemies, but with the Joker, he knew better than to dream big. Joker, in a painted skin-colored face, along with Harley Quinn, were sitting in a back booth enjoying the evening. Penguin sent for some of his finest wine, and when the waitress brings the wine over, she accidentally spills it on the Joker's face, causing his tan makeup, flesh-colored, to run. The Joker says he knows he should turn the other cheek, and decides to spray acid on the waitress's cheek instead. Cobblepot says it was an accident and he did not have to act like that. The Penguin's men chase Harley and the Joker out of the club. Joker's men arrive just in time to pick them up and start throwing pies at the Penguin's men and the guests in the club, and they proceed to run down the street. The Penguin's story ends, and he sees an invitation inside with the other wine bottles that the Joker had delivered, saying that he's been invited to the insane parade. Just then the sounds of singing, drums, horns, and a lot of commotion start to echo throughout the streets of Arkham City. It's the Joker's parade, with Harley as its queen. Joker and his men are carrying signs and pictures of Quincy Sharp that have been defaced with black markers. The wagon that the Joker and Harley are riding have explosives and gasoline and are headed straight for the Iceberg Lounge. Batman is watching high above a rooftop as everything is going on below. The wagon pulls up to the lounge, and the Joker and his men throw pies at the building just for good old time's sake, and the wagon blows up, and they run laughing away. The explosion does not do much damage to Iceberg Lounge, but it does cause the Penguin to have to stop what he's doing and clear up what the Joker has done. And it is also clear that the Joker and Penguin war is still going on. The Penguin is looking for some kind of satisfaction in the day, and he's decided that he's going to do something simple as having a good cooked meal. His prize chef brings the Penguin his supper later that night. It's a salad, and the salad is made to look like the Joker. The Penguin, in frustration, pulls out his gun and shoots the cook right between the eyes. Sometimes I guess you have to make your own satisfaction. All right, that was Arkham Unhinged number 3. Now, as far as the story-wise goes, out of the 3 issues that we've covered already, this being the 3rd, this has been my favorite so far, but far as the art goes, I was really underimpressed, or to use Robin from Young Justice, I was underwhelmed. I thought the story was fantastic, was done very good, and I liked that they flushed out the kind of fighting between Penguin and the Joker, and you kind of got to understand that. It's kind of mentioned a little bit that the Penguin and Joker are kind of at odds and at war with each other, and we get the reason why that is. And the Joker just being the Joker, I can't let somebody else have a good day without ruining it. And it's a nice little tip to the hat to the '89 Batman film where the Joker is putting flesh-covered makeup on to go inside to a restaurant and then gets wine thrown on his face and the makeup kind of runs. So I thought that was a nice little nod. And I really like that Derek does things like that. He doesn't only necessarily reference the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum video games. He takes liberties from other movies and little hints and animated series from time to time, so I think that's always very, very fresh in the series. And the real interesting thing that I thought about this, and that's really kind of cool about this whole series, Batman appears only in barely half a page throughout this whole entire book. So Derek is really establishing that we can have a story that does not include Batman at all. That in some stories, in the video game where Batman gets kicked out of the window after the Joker gives Batman some of his blood, he takes an issue and devotes it entirely to what Joker and Harley were doing after Batman is kicked out of the window, and Batman doesn't appear in the book at all. Batman only appears in like 2 panels, 3 panels, if that, in this whole series. Once dealing with the Penguin's thugs, and then just observing at the insane parade that the Joker is doing. The art, I did not enjoy as much. I thought this was the weakest of the 3 so far. So, but I have some solace in knowing that the 4th issue will be a different art team, and I like that it's keeping it fresh from issue to issue, and Derek does a really good job of making sure that the story ties in with the artwork, but I would have liked to have seen a better pencil team. And then I also was wondering if having 2 pencilers on the book wasn't causing to the confusion. Was one guy drawing part of the frame and then somebody else was drawing another part of the frame, or did one have half the book and the other have half the book? It kind of seems like they split it almost from panel to panel, but it kind of makes sense. So maybe you can let me know just from the few images that I show if you can kind of tell where the different pencilers come in. But as far as the story goes, I really liked it, and as I was reading it, kind of going through and saying, wow, Batman really hasn't appeared till like page 7 or page 8 of the story. And then again, he doesn't appear till almost the second to last panel. So I thought that was done very, very well. So story-wise, just the story alone, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 Batarangs. I wished that the artwork was a little bit better, but I think the story makes up for it in spades. So that is going to do it for this round of Batman Arkham Unhinged, and next week we will be back on track with Arkham Unhinged, and I'll probably throw another 2 issues to make sure we're caught up for the August 25th release of Arkham Origins. So for the Batman universe and for Rob's Rogues, thanks for watching, and as always, we will see you guys next time. Alright, we are taking a look at Arkham City, or jeez Louise. Alright, we're here for our third and